Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. It is a Victory Monday, and I know you have questions. We are going to answer them here tonight. Dan Harms is with me, and if you have not listened or read Daniel Harms, you can do the fantasy thing. You can do the stuff here that we always do. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure it's going to get real busy real fast, so you know what? I think we'll just get after it. Welcome to RGR Football. Welcome back. I'm glad you guys are here. We have something special in a start with a W. I always love that. It's been kind of a tradition with Andy Reid, and there's another tradition that you can get involved in right now. It's from our latest sponsor, DraftKings, the kings of daily fantasy football. I want you to check it out because it's been a great start to the season. It's only getting better with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a shot at free millions of dollars in total prizes. You can get into the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap. It's a pain, but you can do it, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at $1 million in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, and the best part is that you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. All you got to do is go over and download the DraftKings app now and use the code RGR21. That'll help us out and let them know that you're here from us. Enter the code RGR21, and you can get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code RGR21, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 requirement. Eligibility restrictions do apply, and you got to go to DraftKings.com to get all the details. Now, I appreciate the sponsorship. Thank you to DraftKings for helping us out. Hope that you guys are ready for this because I know you got questions. Yeah. I know people have been talking trash all day, and we'll get to that, I promise. Oh, good Lord, I'm so far behind already. We're going to start right off the bat because somebody already super chatted and beat me to it. Oh, and I can't even get to him. Good Lord, who was it? It was Travis Anderson. Thank you very much.
You,
first super chat of the night. I didn't see a comment with it, so hopefully we'll have another one in here. I start from here. The only things I can see right now are super chats, so we'll go through that, you guys, and then we'll get caught up. It is 6 after the hour, so hopefully I can stay on track. We're gonna try. Oh God, Ben Brockback, thank you very much as always. I can put Ben's up because Ben was in the last few minutes, so that always helps. And Ben usually has a comment underneath, and I'm not seeing it yet, so I will keep scrolling and try to find that. Brandon, thank you for your support. Chris Jones getting 2 sacks on the O-line is scary. How do you think the rest of our defensive tackle lineup played, or defensive lineup played? What do you like and what didn't you like?
So I think that Chris was still a little underwhelming at defensive end, to be completely honest with you. I know a lot of people think that he was incredible, and if we're talking about grand scheme of things, when the defense kicked it up, he kicked it up too, and he was leading that charge. So that's exactly what you need in that moment from Chris Jones. It was exactly what you wanted. I still think that he's getting defensive end under his belt. Like, he was playing against a great offensive line, and even then you're still going to find some warts and things that you got to work through. I think he needs to do a little bit better, just getting off of some of the pushes. Like, he takes a little bit too long to get through his pass rush plan when it's hit defensive end. Maybe that's just because he has to go around instead of straight through, but we'll kind of see how that goes. The rest of the defensive line was not very good. I think Wharton had some good snaps. Jerron Reed got obliterated. He was being pushed around, and that was not great to see. Mike Dana kind of lost in the shuffle. Pass rush plan fell by the wayside. Just kind of felt disinterested.
That was the disappointment for me too, because I thought he had one of the better matchups, know, especially going back and forth when Wills was out. Like, I thought he might be able to get something going. So maybe we have to say that he is a base end. He's not a pass rush specialist, and we knew that this was going to take some development. It's year 2 for him. I'm not too worried about it. As far as Chris goes, I can see where you're coming from, but I feel like when he understands what the situation is, he's able to get that done. I think getting more consistent will be the challenge, but I think he's got it from time to time. I have some snaps here that I want to get for Info asked a good question about snap counts, and I have them here in front of me, you guys. So Kando, 12, shocked by that. and that's only the absence of Frank for a reason for him to play, just to give everybody else a spell. But that's too much because he didn't produce anything with it at all.
No.
I didn't see one snap that made me go, okay, wait, no, maybe he is catching on.
Yeah,
he's not there yet. Let me flip over to the other side. Everybody else was offensive that they wanted to know about. And I didn't see, but Fortune had he had a tackle. Oh, he did have 7 snaps on offense.
Yeah, I saw him a couple times as like a single receiver out to the left when they had Burton in back there. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, I don't think Fountain got in the game. I don't have.
He was inactive.
Here. Oh, he was? Okay.
He was not playing in that game.
Totally spaced that. And Noah Gray got the same amount of snaps as Jody did, so 7. I think that's good. And folks, tonight's Monday night, we start behind because everybody's got questions, but this is for you. This is us answering your questions. I'm not even going to do a spiel tonight. I don't even have a main topic. So we're just going to go through as many as we possibly can. Bear with me. And if you would do what Michael did here and put your question marks at the beginning of the sentence, it helps me find them, and it takes a little bit of the pressure off of Aaron Morrow, our fearless moderator, who is down in the chat. Hit Aaron up if I totally miss something, and sometimes that does happen when we fall behind, so I'm going to attempt not to do that. But if you're new, hit the like, the sub, and the bell notification. That's how you get involved around here and get your questions answered as well. And for you members, I know there's been a bunch of you too. I want to give you guys a couple of shout outs here. Rebel was last. Ian, Jay, Jermaine, Lachlan, Jake, Moish, and Shayla. All you guys, if you want to get into Discords, all you got to do is email me over here at this email address. By getting into the memberships, and it looks like you guys are all starter level or above, that always helps. That will get you into it. And all you got to do is contact me so that I can contact you with sign-up information. So back to Michael's questions. Do you anticipate Veach having interest in Farrell as a first-round reclamation project? Healthy and active tonight. Also, Urban 2SC. We were just talking before we kicked this off, Michael, and I think you nailed all of it. I also got a lot of questions today. Is Mike Mayock on the hot seat? I cannot tell you because the internal workings of that trifecta in Las Vegas is unknown to anyone outside the world. Amy Trask doesn't know because it's not Al. You know, it's a different world. I don't know if they're going to move on from Mike Mayock. If they do, then I would think there might be a possibility for moving on from Farrell. They will try to get picks for it. I don't know that the Veach is going to be interested in that myself. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah. When he came out, I liked what he could offer at the end of the first round. And from everything that I'm seeing now, he looks like a shell of what he was coming out. He's not able to get anything going in the pass rush. He's not a very good run defensive end anymore. Like he just kind of, I don't know if it's the development group over there, what's going on in Las Vegas, but it's just not a good spot for any of their top 100 picks to land. And they're just doing a terrible job of getting these guys going. So yeah, I wouldn't have any interest myself, mostly because I think that you're going to get a much better player in this year's defensive end class.
I tend to agree with that as well. Also, Urban, you guys remember when Urban got hired, I told you, like, I don't see him making it because the pro game and the pro athletes that you have to coach are completely different. Hey, lady. It makes it difficult to make that transition. And clearly, you've seen stumble after stumble after stumble. But that said, it's 1 week. I know he's claiming he's not, there's people claiming he's not into it. I don't know that I necessarily buy that. This is the culmination of a career that every coach pushes for. So I don't know if he's going to give it up that fast, but I don't know if he's going to have a choice that long either.
Yeah.
So that's the way it goes. Eric, thank you for the super chat. And you're absolutely right. They missed Frank yesterday. They ran to his side all day. Can't believe that I said it right.
Right? And they ran away from Chris Jones a lot too.
Did I tell you guys about Nick Chubb? I want to make sure I didn't forget that part. But
we talked a lot about Nick Chubb being the best running back in the NFL. So
yeah, okay, guys, who let Sutton into era? You see, a number of people have been saying this. Like, I guess other podcasters have been talking about Sutton. I don't see much Sutton out there. I see question marks. It's funny if you guys missed it. Go become a member just to go watch the vast video.
It's so good.
He specifically talked about how Spags gets his defense in trouble by sugaring up at the line with the linebackers and getting them out of position on the slants in particular, not giving, and he literally said this, Vaz called it off the playoff film, not giving 35 enough help inside.
Yep.
It's an issue. And so I see that very specific to what Spags has done here. I don't see Sutton out there. I know everybody likes to throw Sutton out. It's not the same issue in my mind.
And it's not close because Sutton would just leave the same defensive group and plan out there and just say, figure it out.
Right.
But this is Spags mixing things up, trying to get your quarterback confused. And if you guys didn't get to see that video that Ryan put up on that zone blitz at the end of the game, you should probably go do that after this to look at that, because that's what he does. Spags did a great job of confusing Baker Mayfield. He clutched that ball at the end because he thought he had an opening, and it wasn't there because it was not what it looked like. So you should make sure to go check that out. It's totally worth it. And what Spags does is completely different from what Bob Sutton does.
I hope that you guys do, because a lot of people, in fact, even like people that were watching the game with me, are like, oh, I didn't notice any of that, because like you're so hyped up about the play's outcome. You missed the fact that that's how they got there. Really, really good design from him. I know people are going to complain about dropping out D linemen. Yes, I know. I don't prefer that myself, but it is a zone blitz concept that has always been there in parts. Spags use it pretty well. Now, Jerry Snead was the trail blitzer, which is a great technique. And credit to Kareem Hunt. He took it on and made that block, and Jerry didn't get there, but it didn't account for everybody, and that's what it comes down to. Pono, you notice that they sprinkled in. Burton got a couple of snaps. He got the first down, but he also was a lead blocker a couple of times. And one time in particular, it's just not enough reps of practice, because he made his block, climbed to the second, and Clyde did not cut off of him like you should have to what was going to be daylight. So it just takes some going. The old lines coming together, the run game's all coming together. There's a lot that has to happen before they're like on all cylinders, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw Mitch comment on one of the still shot images of Clyde not bouncing it out to the left, but a lot of these run plays where I mentioned it yesterday too, where it looks like he's getting tunnel vision and he's not getting it to the outside with these huge running lanes. It all depends on the offensive line, what Clyde's reading. And Mitch pointed out that if you have Tooney looking inside outside, so it looks like he's okay. So if you're looking at Clyde running and you see the defensive end kind of shifting to his left and Tooney also doing the same thing, if he tries to bounce that outside, that defensive end is going to disengage and get him. So he's reading something that he's trying to predict that he can't bounce out that way because of the foreseeable defensive end. And he's also trying to manipulate linebackers at the same time while all this is going on. So I think that while I do think that he did have some tunnel vision on specific plays, I don't have the angle. Hopefully the All-22 comes out like it's supposed to, like the NFL has said, and I can get that angle so I can really see what he's reading. But when you're looking at it from the sideline, you don't get that eyesight to see exactly what he's reading. And a lot of us don't know what he's supposed to be reading anyway. So it's hard to criticize, but I do think that he did get some tunnel vision. I will say that.
Guys, I want to emphasize this. A lot of what we're able to tell you and explain to you is because we get to see that coach's film. And without it, we are left making educated guesses rather than seeing what's going on. So we're going to cross our fingers that we get there. A couple of shotgun questions here, just real quick. Trust will come for the wide receiver too as they progress, John. Yes, Eric Streeter, they will have trouble against the run because they didn't get linebackers that can stop the run. They're playing coverage first. And while it's infuriating to me, because I think these guys, were they more attacking style of linebacking? They could have stopped more, in my opinion. California Chief, I'll tell you this. Kendo was being a rookie is what he was doing. No, it didn't look good, and no, it wasn't helpful. But that's what you get when you're playing rookies out there that haven't had a lot of practice time, haven't played with the ones. Like, there's all kinds of limitations there. So that's really all.
You really can't expect him to be in a good position.
All right, I missed a ton of super chatters. I got to get you guys. So let's see. Joseph Jackson, thank you very much for your support. I cannot display it, I don't think, except to myself. Sorry. But I will read it out for you. So I guess this means we're extending Matthew after yesterday's game. I mean, they were always going to. Hopefully this makes them come together a little bit quicker.
Let's hope so.
Because I don't think they want to draw out the negotiation very long, to tell you the truth.
They don't have any room to anyway.
Yeah.
They really don't.
They can generate themselves some gap here if they structure it correctly. So cross your fingers. Stevie, thank you as always. Thanks to Stefanski for abandoning the run and playing right into the strength of our defense while leading. Yeah, I mean, there was an aspect to that. I think the Chiefs defense did step up and slow things down a little bit there as they tried to make that push. And that's what Chris and I debated on Locked On Chiefs today is like, it wasn't just Mahomes making magic. the defense stood up too. The special teams played as well. I mean, yeah, when you have a punter drop a snap, there's not much you can do to salvage it, but the special teams
their own punter.
right? I mean, that's honestly what it comes down to. AP Payne, Browns were out for blood. That was a great game. 53 defense, then hammer time. Yeah, I mean, if the Chiefs can get to the point where they can run like the Browns did, you're going to see them go up early and then shift to that, and that's what I'm here for. Gonzo, I wouldn't be too concerned about the defense. Frank, who's great at stopping the run, plus Tyron on the leader of the defense, didn't play. And that's a fair point. They also missed Willie Gay. So in a couple of weeks, they're going to be better off there as well. And it really was missing a guy, a significant player at each level of the defense that I think really hurt them. Justin Jones, Chris Jones is a monster, but seems to be losing contain on a few plays. Is that learning end, or is contain not his responsibility? Most likely that's him getting used to what he's seeing from the end position, not necessarily learning it. He knows what the rules are, but when you see it coming at you, it's a little bit different. So I think that's just an adjustment he'll make. And now I'm finally caught up. D-Money, thank you. Yesterday it showed that we have to extend Tyron. I completely agree.
Agreed.
With you. Dan, what do you think about this one? What did you think about Orlando's game in general?
I think Orlando had a game that I expected him to have against Myles Garrett, and with this offense, Mahomes does get back. He gets back there in his drops. So that's something that Lamar Jackson doesn't do very much. He's usually getting in his drops, and then he either steps up to look for more space, or he gets out and runs. That's just what he does, and he's used to being able to do that. So when we talk about, both Niang and Orlando Brown having these quote unquote offensive line losses that analytics people use, there are a lot of different definitions of winning and losing a matchup. If a defensive end comes around you and you push him upfield to allow Mahomes to step up, in my opinion, that's not a loss, even though it will probably go as a loss in that analytical development, which is something that I've been trying to point out for a long time, but they seem to not have adjusted to that. So it's all about trying to understand what he's trying to do with Myles Garrett, because he was matched up with Myles Garrett most of yesterday. There were some ugly losses where Mahomes got sandwiched a few times, but also on Mahomes for not stepping up into that pocket when it's there. The interior of the offensive line was very good in pass protection. It was very good. So I think that he's just learning to mesh with Mahomes on those drops, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to.
Yeah, I'm with you. A couple of quick hitters here so we can try to get caught up. Yes, I'm way behind already. Derek Nottie wasn't playing much because he's been hurt. He hasn't been practicing in full, and we saw him miss some in the preseason as well. Aaron, I do think that Willie will make a little bit of difference on setting the edge on the run, because they'll play him in some overhang. But honestly, he should be in the middle of that defense, so it really isn't going to be on him.
Yeah.
Doug, yes, we talked about Tyron. Scott, I don't want to get too into this because I kind of went on a rant on Locked On Chiefs today. Go check that out, please. But this pisses me off. I would be more pissed off if Greg Lewis stood there and did nothing. So Cleveland fans, the national media can talk all this trash. You don't touch a coach, period, ever. That's the bottom line for me. And we're not going to go any farther.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'm
just going to say, I don't think he should. I understand where Greg Lewis is coming from, because from his perspective, it looked like Harrison was just standing over the player. Like, it looked like he was trying to step on him or stand over him. So from that perspective, if you look at it through that lens, yes, I understand it. I also don't think he should have been trying to manhandle a player either. I think it goes both ways. You don't push coaches. Coaches don't push players. So it's just kind of a situation that could have also gotten out of hand. Lucky it didn't. And I imagine someone will get a nice little slap on the wrist for that.
Yeah, possibly. I would argue that you see refs do it every time there's a pileup and somebody gets scrappy. They push guys to separate them, and I have no problem with that. That's what a coach's role is. This isn't playground anymore. You guys are going to act up. That's what coaches are there for. So I will always side on that side, and it'll be what it is. Gus, I don't think that you can rely too much on 10 and 87.
So
Sean, how are you?
So yeah.
Sean, you the man. I'm glad you had a good time out there. Should we be a fourth quarter team, or should we just try to beat them when the opportunity comes? Yes, and yes. I mean,
that's just
I don't know. Sometimes elite players need a kick in the butt. That's all I can say, really. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's just coming out of the, this is their first game of the season. Sometimes the Chiefs did that last year a lot, where they just couldn't find the motivation. And I don't think this was because they couldn't find the motivation. I just think that they were getting it taken to them, and it just took a little longer than usual. But I'm hoping they don't have that same issue throughout the season. I don't think they will, though.
Yeah. Dan's in the chat. How are you, Dan? Is Mike Dan injured? He was a step late and $1 short a lot. I mean, he's fighting against what is one of the better offensive lines. I thought he had a pretty good matchup, but it wasn't his great game. I do expect more from him, and I think we'll see it.
I'm hoping so.
All right, you take this one because I don't want to scream.
Oh, that's okay. I've been concerned with Travis Ward's play for his entire tenure in Kansas City. I think he was pretty decent in 2019, but ever since then, it's been pretty consistently downhill. And I've pretty much since they signed DeAndre Baker, thought he was going to take his spot. And if we're being very honest, if DeAndre Baker was a healthy scratch yesterday, that was a very not good thing to do. Because I think he could have done much better than Travis Ward did. He's got more speed downfield. He's more athletic, and he could have given Schwartz some run. He probably would have gotten beat a time or two, but he would have done better than Travis did, in my opinion.
I don't think he's healthy. I think they're being very cautious with that. I mean, because on timing, Travis is a faster guy. I don't think there's any way that it's close right now with DeAndre, and I'm glad to see them not put pressure on him, because I agree with you. I think he can be a guy that starts outside again. And I know that, Mike Hughes was taken advantage of on the slants early. Mike Hughes is going to give those plays up, but he's also going to make some plays. So I was encouraged on the day for Mike Hughes.
Yeah, me too.
Brian, I think we were both happy with the special teams. I didn't see anything that stood out to me. Dan, did you?
There wasn't a whole lot on special teams. I mean, they did their job when they were out there, and that's exactly what you have Dave Tobe for. So yeah, they did a good job.
Jeremy, you're right. I think, Chris was guessing. He always does. He does like to just ignore things. He even said in his post-game presser, I know I'm supposed to defend against the run here, but I'm just playing the pass. I mean, that's what he does. And there is a certain discipline that is not part of this team. And the coaching staff deals with that because, especially guys like Chris Jones, when they do that, it generally leads to an explosive play.
Yeah. And one of the plays that they got down the stretch with, Saunders and Bolton, that tackle for loss that should have been for loss, which when it wasn't, really irritated me. It's because Chris jumped in front of that tackle to try to get to where he knew Nick Chubb was going. So when he has instincts and he follows them, like I said, it typically pays off for him, and it did there too towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Bell sneak, I thought was a brilliant utilization of a backup player that has a wider skill set than just the position he plays. And I didn't go crazy, Ray, just because I was just relieved that they didn't try to do it with Patrick. And I'm glad to see them not do that. So I was literally taking deep breaths.
I'm so sick and tired of the short calls that Andy does. I'm sick and tired of them. I can't stand. Let's run out the jumbo package on 3rd and 1 and barely get it because everyone knows that they're going to run it. I can't stand it.
Well, the flip to Remmers was even worse in my opinion.
It was the worst. It was one of the worst. This game, when he brought out the trick plays, they were some of the worst and ill-timed trick plays that he could have called out. And
I hope that means that there are better things coming later in the season. That's my hope.
I really hope so, because that was not good.
But Michael, you have a good point. I did think that Andy did buckle down, go back to basics a little bit. And I felt that the volume of run that he called early in the third quarter did wear down that defense that was winning most of the game. I thought that was effective. And that's a thing that I talk about all the time. And that was just a small, that was an Andy-sized dose of it. Not what I would do. I would do more. But I thought it worked. Dan, am I wrong?
No, I think that even though Clyde didn't get a whole lot going, I think that the defensive line is extremely good against the run. I think it's more improved this year than it was last year. You add guys like McDowell and Clowney, who's known to be an excellent run defender. You're not going to get those chunk plays. And so, yeah, I think that you're just trying to move them. And that's what this offensive line was brought in for, to kind of wear some defensive lines down. You're not going to see a better defensive line like that until you play Denver, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So that's really what you're looking for. And I think they did their job. Now that when they get that mesh point with Clyde and everyone's on the same page, you're going to see some of those plays actually break. And that's really what it comes down to.
I'm with you. Miss Holly, thank you for the support, Holly, as always.
So incredible.
And you have a great question. What do you do to improve this pass rush? They did score too easily in the first half. honestly, for me, it just looked lackadaisical. It didn't look nasty. It didn't look like it hasn't had an edge. The guys weren't up. And quite frankly, that's a direct effect of not having Frank Clark. That's what Frank Clark brings to this defense. He brings that edge.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they were flat because of it.
I completely agree. I know people think that these are, professionals don't have that room for error when you need a player like Frank Clark to get you ready for a game. Some teams need that kind of jolt. Not everyone has that energy and that type of play style that Frank brings. There's a reason he is here. He is still here. And one of those things is because he gives them an edge, a swagger, a dominating mentality that contributes everywhere on the football field for that defense. And it was noticeably not there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to skip some of these questions, folks. There's a lot of common things that are looking the same. Sean, I will tell you this. Neiman's on there because they trust him to be in the right spot, not to be an athlete, and that's very clear to me.
Yep.
Gary, Orlando had some trouble with Garrett. That's a back and forth matchup. It is every year. But I think you also saw him having to do more sets that I didn't think he took a lot of vertical sets just from the broadcast. It looked like mostly 45s, but that's still different than what he's used to. Mm-hmm. And I think that, especially that one dip around where Garrett actually got around and got him, I think that was just, again, Orlando's transition to this style of play.
Yeah. The speed is an issue at times too, like because he's not used to getting that deep in his pass sets yet. So it's just going to take some time.
Dre had a good one, Dan. Who do you think is going to be the biggest challenge to them at this point?
In terms of like this year, or are we talking like?
Yeah, who's going to be the challenger this season?
I guess that's really kind of a difficult question for me. I think that after the Packers just got absolutely housed by the New Orleans Saints, I think that they're going to start playing much better. They obviously have the team to do that. It's all going to be about if they get that going. I think that they have the mentality to do that. I think they're going to be the toughest game that they play because, like I said, I think when you get destroyed like that by a team that you probably didn't take seriously enough, if we're being honest, there's no way any Packer player looked at Jameis Winston and said, "Nah, we got this." Like they all thought that they were going to beat them, and then he just took them apart. So I think that the Packers game is going to be the toughest test for them this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tatum, thank you for the support. Appreciate it. And he's asking, what's your take on Kando as he exists now? He didn't set the edge of the run for the TV in the past Sunday, and that's absolutely true. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, Kando is what he is. He's a rookie. You took high upside, and you're hoping to develop him. When you have to play him because Frank Clark wasn't able to get on the field, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see him not being in the right position. You're going to see him being overwhelmed by better offensive linemen. That's just what he is. And there's nothing wrong with being a player who's learning and in development. That's just what Joshua Kando is. That's not a big deal.
He's a raw prospect. I watched at least a couple games from every year that he played at Florida State, and I didn't see any progression. So he's basically the same high school player that he was. He's just longer, taller, and a little bit stronger. Yeah. He's got to learn into technique. He's got to grow into his place in this. And the recognition at the NFL level comes so fast that if you couldn't do it in college, and he was not a stellar player in college, jumping in game one of your rookie season was never going to be pretty. I would have preferred, again, back to the 53, I would have kept Damone Harris for exactly this reason, because he's seen it, he's done it. He's not going to give you huge upside, but he will set those things and he'll give you a base, raising the floor, not setting the ceiling. That's all right.
I agree.
He's going to grow. I agree with you, Dan. Let's see. This is a good one. What do you think, Dan? Who appears to have rescued themselves from being this year's Cam Irving?
Are we talking about like cheerleader? What are we talking about here?
Yeah. Like, did anyone who should be on the sideline get themselves a little bit more exposure?
That's an interesting question. There's one guy who I think I didn't even know he made the roster, to be honest with you. Lemons. I thought that he wasn't, or Lemons, or how you pronounce his name. He was an incredibly good special teams player yesterday. Like, he was really, really good. And not only is he an excellent celebrator, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's clips around Twitter of him celebrating. It's phenomenal. You should really go look at that. So he's going to get more playing time. I think that he's got some talent. You might see him on the defensive side in some of these blowout games that are bound to come around. I'm going to knock on some wood over here just to make clear the air about that stuff. But I want to see something out of him because he's now sitting here on the roster. He's going to be here all season because of that special teams performance, in my opinion. And that might get you some playing time. And I think now we're talking about maybe rescuing himself from being the Cam Irvin. He can be both. He could be a really good celebrator and a guy who can get some more playing time.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you think here, Poto's question, do you think that not having a number 2 is unnerving? A lot of people have been asking me about Brown today.
This is an interesting dynamic. We've talked about number 2 option for a long time. Obviously, the Chiefs have their 1 and number 2 options in Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Yes, I think that there is something to be said about the comfort level that Patrick Mahomes has with those two, and it's different for everybody else. I don't have the benefit now of knowing if Demarcus Robinson, if Hardman, or if any of the other guys were open. Okay. And when the ball is always going to Kelce and Hill, you don't know. You only see the stuff that happens when they get the ball. So Pringle, Robinson, and Hardman didn't get very many targets. That doesn't necessarily mean they weren't open. So when we're talking about the whole issue with the number 2 receiver, Mahomes looks to Hill and Kelce first. Those are his first 2 reads on 95% of the plays. Yeah. That's by design. So if we're talking about it being unnerving, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes both feel that those 2 are going to be open. And guess what? 90% of the time, they're open. So he doesn't have to get to that 3rd and 4th read as much. So it's really all about they could be open, but Mahomes is throwing it to the guys that already are open in his read progression.
Yeah, I'm with you. Juicy performers. I will give you guys 2. Juan Thornhill made both of those turnovers happen.
Yes, he did.
So let's take that into account. Now, he also got beat on 2 plays as well. Nobody's perfect. But Juan looked like Juan should look now, as though he didn't have that year that he missed, right? This would be the next progression. I expect him to get better as he goes. So kudos to him. He was the 3rd highest grade on PFF behind Chris Jones. Now, the other guy who's getting no credit, Colin Saunders played 11 snaps. 11 snaps. And he got just as much pressure. He got a third as much pressure as Chris Jones did. He was in the backfield 3 times by my count. And yes, I'm excited for what he's going to bring.
There's juice there, guys. Like, there's literal juice there. Like, we're talking about juicy performances. Colin Saunders has got some juice to him, and he looks way, way better than he did not only last year, but, his rookie year. He looks incredibly he looks like he's finally getting that pass rush development we thought he was going to get. He had it in college. It's going to take some time when you're coming from D2 into here, but now he's coming back. And Creed Humphrey's juicy performances, he was so good. And you guys don't even know. That interior was incredible that whole game in pass protection. Creed's ability to study the game, he's ahead of everybody at his time. He's already one of the most studied, well-read centers in the NFL, and he showed it again against, a defense that is really, really good up front, has a lot of speed on the back end. He's got to figure out where these blitzes are coming from. Granted, they didn't blitz a whole lot because you don't want to blitz Mahomes, but again, very, very good performance by Creed Humphrey.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Creed gave up zero pressure. Zero pressure. Your all-pro tackle gave up 5. And so did your rookie tackle. And I actually see that as a plus for Niang, basically being about the production level with Orlando. You got to remember, Myles Garrett is an elite pass rusher, and having Clowney coming back and forth gives you a speed option. Like, this was a difficult game for the tackles. But I thought the interior 3, Trey only gave up 1 pressure as well. So more power to him. And you're absolutely right, Doug. Like I said, I think Juan is feeling good. Let's see, Ed. Are Ravens seriously compromised by injuries now? It's just one position, and quite frankly, it's probably one that you can find guys on the street like Lev Bell. If Lev Bell's in shape, they're going to give him a chance. Latavius Murray, same as I think.
There's more than just the running back position. The wide receivers are hurt. They have corners. Jimmy Smith is not 100%, and there's quite a lot of interesting things going on in Baltimore. And the wide receiver, I think Sammy's going to play tonight. I haven't seen anything about that. I know he's been dealing with injuries too. All of their starting 3 wide receivers have been out with injuries up until now. That's not good. Obviously, you have a new a ton of new backfield guys now. It's got to get on the same page with Lamar. So that's a very interesting dynamic they're in right now. And coming in to play with the Chiefs next week is going to be interesting.
Yeah, they got their hill to climb. I didn't realize that the other guys were that beat up. I knew about Jimmy, but that was all I had in my head. So thank you for that. Jeff, over 500. Yeah, if you guys, especially if you're new, if you would hit that that always helps us. It tells more football fans that we're here doing this. And if you would hit the sub button as well, we like to keep you guys around. Trying to look for questions that we haven't covered yet. Are you happy with Clyde given what he was dealing with, or do you think that McKinnon and Williams should have gotten more touches?
No, I think that the production, I'm not going to say I'm happy with, because I think that's just kind of the sledding there was. I do think there were some things that he didn't take advantage of. But again, that's just my guess. It's not really anything put behind that. And I think that Williams would have probably gotten less because he doesn't have the ability to get to those edges either. He's got much less burst. And McKinnon, while he's a very explosive player, it's about getting him into open field. He's not a guy who is going to take an interior defense or a defensive line that's very good and make a lot with it. You have to really get him the ball in space. Maybe use him more in the passing game, but they didn't use Clyde enough in the passing game either. So that was an irritating part of this whole thing too. So no, I wasn't happy with Clyde's running production. I think there was some plays left out on the field, and I'm hoping that this coaching staff shows him where some of the things that maybe you just got to see a little bit better. So I'm hoping to see that.
Yeah, I agree. Although I will say this, when given the opportunity, I thought both Hardman and Clyde did their jobs. They were both 3 for 3 on targets. They didn't miss any passes. They did the best with what they were given. And again, that is part of Mahomes doing what he does in looking for the big plays all the time. Let's see. We're scrolling down again, folks. If you are new, put your question marks at the beginning. It helps me find them. I like this one, Night Hunter. Overall, I was happy with what Nick Bolton did. I think he can play the run harder. I know everybody likes to say that he's a great run defender. I don't feel that's true, at least not off of his college film, but I feel he has the potential to be. And I think that, like Willie Gay, I think first year as a rookie, it's going to be touch and feel, but I think second year, he's going to be able to come downhill, which is his best attribute, and actually defend the run a lot better than, say, Hitchens.
And you could see it in the plays that he wasn't like squared up on a block. He was making plays in the backfield. He was fast. He was getting back there. That's where he is best. And I think that he was a little slow on some of his pass reads. One of the very first pass plays to Austin Hooper, he was a little slow in identifying the play action. The ball was already basically going out when he saw that he needed to be getting out to the flat to cover Austin Hooper. But he's a much better explosive downhill player. And that sure tackle of Baker Mayfield in the open field on that first drive was indicative of everything I thought he would be, getting everything geared up. So as soon as he starts seeing things better, that's going to happen even faster, and it's going to be for less yards.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I missed Marshall's super chat. Thank you, Marshall, for the support. And what he asked was, he's having a tough time wrapping his head around Orlando Brown's performance so far. Were you expecting him to get beat that much? I feel speed rushers could give him issues going forward.
Yeah, and I think we did talk a little bit about getting that depth in his pass protection sets. It's just going to take time. Mahomes and him have to get on that same page, because Mahomes has been working on getting up into the pocket too. So sometimes he kind of lapses his own mind where he wants to get back deeper in the pocket. If it's third down, you notice that specifically on the last sack before they had to punt it back, he just stayed back there. He is used to wanting to extend plays like that. So it's just going to be a mesh thing.
You guys stand up in your living rooms right now or wherever you are.
Do it.
Put your feet together, shoulder width apart. Now on 3, take 2 large steps to the side. 1, 2, 3. It's so much easier to do horizontal sets than it is to do vertical sets, because you have to kick with one leg and gain that distance while making sure that your technique is right so that you don't get your feet tangled up, because that's what the pass rushers want. Vertical sets are way more difficult, especially for a guy who has not done them.
Yeah.
At all as a professional, because I don't think I've ever seen him do one in Baltimore.
I don't think they did. I don't think he even had time to do them. But Jackson was getting out of the pocket anyway, so by the time he got into it, he would have been gone.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
I know I got yours, but I didn't say that. Knicks fan, I got you here. The O-line looked okay, but there was that was way more to Mahomes. Yeah, Patrick had to scramble too much for my liking.
I think that had to is indicative of what we saw Mahomes doing at times, where all he needed to do was step up into the pocket, but he knows when he sees man-on-man coverage, like the throw to Tyreek, he got outside because he knew there was time. He knew he could get the ball downfield to him. So I think that had to scramble, maybe a little bit more of what we saw outside of what he necessarily had to do. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you're making a good point. Thank you, Knicks fan. What do y'all think about the Bills? Everybody stumbles a little bit. I didn't think they were terrible. Curtis, you're absolutely right. I totally forgot about Peters blowing his ACL. The Gus Edwards thing was not that huge a loss in my opinion, so I kind of like swept it under the rug.
I disagree. Gus Bus. I love Gus.
No, I love him too. But like I said, in that offense, I think you can run any number of running backs.
I think they're going to find it maybe a little bit tough sledding without their two guys, though.
Yeah,
first three guys, actually.
And you know me, power back like Gus, I like that.
Yeah.
Like I like him in between the tackles. Just put his head down and go. But thanks for reminding me that, Curtis. I totally forgot about Peters. Jimmy, thank you for your support. Our run defense looked horrible until the last quarter. We need a better middle linebacker play and secondary play. Their offense had the ball too long. Yeah, I mean, but that's by design.
I was about to say, like,
they could have drafted David Collins if they wanted to stop the run. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what they were worried about. This is a calculated decision. I don't particularly agree with it. I would rather have, honestly, a well-rounded linebacker than a coverage linebacker and a run linebacker. You know what I mean? But that's me. That's not what they want to do. And, you know, at the end of the day, what you saw them do is play well enough that they weren't able to keep up with the Chiefs offense. And at the end of the day, it's a team of 22 that are on the field. And when you do that and you force them into having to throw the ball, although I do think Stefanski kind of jumped to the pass a little bit too quick. That's what happens. That's what this plan is. That's what this roster is designed to do. And so it worked. So I think they're reinforcing their own philosophy, which means you're not going to see any better run defense anytime soon.
No, and we have to take it to a grain of salt. That was probably outside of the Baltimore Ravens and maybe the Titans. I wouldn't say it by yesterday's standards. The best rushing offense in the NFL, just by the different ways they can attack you. It's also the best rushing offensive line in the NFL. That's just what it is. So when they took advantage of a less than average run defense and made it look even worse, that was just what they were always going to do.
Yeah. Par for the course.
Yep.
I think I was throwing and shouting, and you know, you guys don't get to see me be a fan. That's why I don't do live streams of reactions, because it's not pretty. But thank you, Knicks fan. Eric, Tyreek versus limited Jimmy and no Peters. Yeah, I mean, they're going to play, I think they're going to play 3 deep all day, maybe play some cloud 6 kind of stuff where they change who's going to be where. Mm-hmm. It didn't work for John Johnson, and he's a better safety than what I think they got that back there. So
I'm excited.
Are you?
I'm excited. I really am.
Dan's got the cheesy grin on. That means something good. Frederick, thank you for your support. Eric, thank you for yours as always.
Guys, thank you so much.
Never really saw Reed do anything. I'm not a noob, but I only see sacks. How did he do? Talk to me, Dan.
Yeah, Reed got I think he took the brunt of a lot of the doubles, and he was just manhandle a lot in the interior of that offensive line. They got a lot of studs in there, and he couldn't do anything. And he's not going to see that good of an offensive line for a while here. So again, the loss of Frank Clark also makes it worse on a guy like Jarran Reed, who does not take on doubles the same. If you have Chris Jones in there, that's a little bit different because he can really disrupt double teams. Yep. So if you got Chris Jones, and Frank Clark, and
or
Reed
Mike Armin's in the way.
Yeah, right. Just get out of the way. That's where you can really take advantage of those and really space out the doubles. But he was not very good, and that's by design without Frank Clark there.
Well, I'll tell you guys this too. Noddy not being in full strength hurts Jarran Reed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they have to double team Noddy if they want to move him out of the way in the run game. One-on-one. Exactly. So I think that will change when Noddy's a little healthier as well. He's really Reed is probably, I would say, the number 2 tackle in terms of run defense. Noddy is clearly the number 1.
Oh man.
And without him, it gets a little bit lighter. So, you know, I'm just glad they avoided it, because that was going to be a recipe for disaster if they let them get going too much. And Leslie, you're absolutely right. You saw in a few snaps, you saw some impact from Colin Saunders, and I'm going to look for a lot more to come. Maximo, I'm not going to get into free agents right now. I haven't seen anything that's happened today. You're going to see some signings tomorrow. Ben, thank you for the support as always. I'm sure you have a comment below this one. Hopefully I didn't miss one earlier. Knicks fan, thank you again. Thanks to Sorensen creating that pick. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I tried to show today. If you guys didn't get it, it went up kind of late. Just because I was messing around with editing and I'm so short on time. If you guys didn't hear, I'm going to be taking over the Lockdown NFL draft show. That's 5 days a week. So that's going to be a challenge as well. And so my time is shrinking when there's more and more to do, it seems. But Dan, I tried to highlight Dan there. Like he helped create that. And it good play by Hughes, who's playing his zone. He's in the right spot, but that doesn't happen without that blitz and without Dan Sorensen. Danilo, I know you're happy to hear me say that.
And it doesn't. You're right. If he doesn't trip up Baker, that ball, I do adjust my opinion from yesterday. I think he's trying to throw it away. It looked more like he was trying to get it just thrown away. So that ball doesn't get picked off without Dan Sorensen getting his shoes wrapped up. Whatever I'm trying to say, whatever that is, that word or whatever.
I knew what you meant. Thanks, Knicks fan. Ben, this is his question from before, and we talked about Creed at length.
Yeah.
I felt like despite giving up pressure, I thought Niang held his own against what should have been a way big mismatch for him. Yeah. And I will say this, I thought Trey was up and down. I thought he missed a couple of things, but when he was able to be comfortable and carry out his assignment, he finished nasty, and you saw glimpses of what Trey Smith's going to be.
Yeah, a lot of people point to the pancake he had in the Mahomes touchdown run. When a defensive end whenever a defensive player is standing there, not expecting to get blocked and trying to get Mahomes you're going to be able to finish him like that. So I think that Trey Smith has been a breath of fresh air on this offensive line. There are definitely some things to work on, but again, he's growing. These are younger players that are all growing together. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Eric, covering the tight end is a challenge because I think what you're seeing here is again something. You guys go join the membership so you can go watch the vast video, because he did more in the half hour we spoke in explaining how the Spags defense worked than I've done in the last year. Dude. And I try. So
we're definitely having it back on too. So
it is a systemic thing, because not only do the slants get hurt when you're especially when you're moving around the linebackers, but when you're using Tyron as the deep middle guy, you have that gap in there, and that's where the tight ends eat in between the seams. That's the problem. And quite frankly, this is why I like Dan Sorensen in the box, not in coverage. He's a great blitzer, like you saw, but he doesn't have the foot speed anymore to run with these athletic tight ends, and that's just the way it is.
And then, unfortunately, when you get Snead on Njoku, the size is just it's not fair, and Baker's an accurate thrower of the football, so he was able to make that throw.
I was going to say, if that ball was not placed correctly, Snead knocks that away.
Oh, he does, but it was a perfect throw. You can't defend that, really.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. James, I think it depends on the setup. I think they've shown that what Juan does is what Juan does, and he needs to be the free single deep. When they're playing splits like that, maybe it leaves room for change. I don't know.
I think we saw a different side of Juan Thornhill yesterday, and that may open some things up for them to get more creative and maybe use less Dan. Because they're going to use Dan Sorensen no matter what. They're going to. Like, that's just a fact of the matter. I will say he had 5 missed tackles yesterday. That's not good.
As a professional of 8 years?
It's not good.
Yeah.
So as much as he makes plays, maybe we start saving him for those plays specifically. Get him out there a few different times. Use Thornhill a little bit more creatively, because I think we're seeing he's back fully healthy. I think we are fully seeing that.
Yeah. Dan, what did you think of the 2 tight end sets?
Honestly, guys, I didn't notice them very much. Not in terms of it helping the offense. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that the 2 tight end sets, I'm going to have to actually go back through it and count and see what they did for him. Because I will say that with the first watch, I don't really notice the 2 tight ends as a whole lot. And maybe that's just because Blake Bell just doesn't do it for me. But I would like to see a little bit more creativity with the 2 tight end sets. Getting, them out on a linebacker, trying to find ways to utilize the mismatch. Because if you're just bringing them out and you're just lining up 2 tight ends and you have obviously Kelce out, you're essentially still 3-by-1. So maybe start using them more creatively instead of just attaching them to the line and just trying to run, because I still don't think he's that good of a blocker, if I'm being completely honest with you.
You guys remember that play that the Browns ran?
Oh
with the flip with the stuff to the thing to back to Baker? That's what the Chiefs should be doing.
That was perfect.
That's what they ought to be doing with all these tight ends.
Yeah, they got to do something different.
It's blocking by committee. Just everyone go. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe that wasn't the right way to say it, but
it was perfect. It was perfect. Don't say it wasn't.
Michael, Tyrod can handle tight ends, just not the super beefy ones that are going to body up on you. If it's like with the pass catcher, like wide receiver plus guys, yes. Would he have helped against Njoku? I think probably, because I think Njoku is more of the big wide receiver. I don't think he uses his body terribly effectively. What do you think?
I don't disagree with that, but I think that the combination of Njoku's size with the accuracy of Baker is what makes that work. And I think that if it was reversed and Tyram's out there on Njoku instead of Snead, I still think that gets completed, because I think that just like I said, the accuracy with the tight end combination is what actually makes Njoku work on that offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. Chris, thank you for the support. Appreciate it. I think he'll likely get fined, because I think they need to set the precedent. I don't think he gets suspended. If he does, I'm going to be really pissed.
Yeah, I don't think a suspension is in order, but I think that the NFL, the Browns and the NFL are going to ask, or the NFLPA or someone's going to ask them to review this. And I think that to try to get everyone off their back, they're just going to have to levy a fine of some sort.
Yeah. Will, good question. Do you think how much better do you think this defense will be when Willie Gay gets back? Dramatically, until Derrick Henry comes to town.
I mean,
I think
I don't know if you guys saw the Titans' offensive line on Sunday.
It's just one game, though. I think at the end of the day, that's still going to be a very big challenge against their run game, I think.
We'll see. As long as
Willie's going to make a difference everywhere else.
So will Frank Clark.
Yep, absolutely. And quite frankly, I want more snaps out of Noddy. I think he played 14.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he gets healthy soon.
Yeah, I mean, those guys in their 90 and 91 and even 99. I mean, they're just, it's underrated how they help the rest of the team. Let's see. Let's hit these last couple super chats, and I'm gonna let you guys get out of here so you can listen to Peyton and Eli. That's what I'm gonna do.
It's gonna be fun.
Gold Towel, thank you for the support. Seemed like a lot of guys taking a while to get into proper alignment on D. Yes. Was that Willie being out? No. Hitch is the guy running that. It's Tyron being out that affected that, in my opinion.
While maybe, Voss also talked about that too. Like, these guys are always just seemingly running around. They're looking like they're waiting for something specific to tell them exactly where they need to line up. So when you see the defense like that last second scrambling, that almost is indicative of Spagnuolo's defense, at least as it has been the last few years. They seem to be waiting on something to set themselves up perfectly. So,
yeah, I mean, Willie's not a guy that's going to change the alignment.
No,
Willie's the weapon that gets aligned from the other players that see the field better. Knicks fan, thank you again. You're on fire tonight, man. I'm glad they won this one, even without Tyron, Clark, and Gay. I tell you what, I am too, and I think the more that I think about it, if it wasn't for Chris Jones and the big three on offense, it doesn't happen. But it's not just them. It took the defense stepping up together. It took the other bit players like Juan Thornhill and Dan Sorensen and Nick Bolton stepping up together as a team. This was a team win, in my opinion.
And that kind of win can actually make them better. I think that shows you that, they had some injuries to deal with. They had some guys that didn't play, but they were able to find a way to win. And that might just galvanize them to be even better than they have been in the past, which, I mean, this team's already great. What do you think is going to happen when they get those guys back?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. This is a very good question, Steven, and I'm interested to see if Dan and I disagree or how much we disagree. Do they have a 4-minute offense? Seems like we can't put the game away, and we struggle in those situations. What do you think?
Regularly, they do struggle in those situations. And go ahead.
I was going to say I don't agree, because I don't think it's a problem with the 4-minute offense. I think it's when they get themselves 8 yards and they get in short yardage situations. This offense needs room to grow. I don't think it's specific to the 4-minute offense, though.
I think Andy's play calling dictates in the 4-minute a little bit differently in those situations. So while you're probably right that it's not specifically, I think Andy sees it a little differently and he calls things differently in those 4-minute situations because they do seem to find themselves in those short distances, 2nd and 2, or even on 2nd and 10. That's the one thing that Andy Reid does that I can't stand, especially in those games we have to drive to put it away. So you throw it on 1st down. You don't get the completion. So he comes out and he runs it on 2nd and 10. No.
Just run it on both and be done with it.
You may as well. You got to run.
I'm just saying. Let's go classic. I mean, there's a reason you could pop one. I mean, yes, it was not a great running day yesterday. Clyde averaged 5.6 yards a carry last year. Yeah. I mean, just do it.
Something's working. So yeah, I think that they do tend to struggle a little more in the situations, and maybe it's Andy getting tight. I don't know. I can't tell you for a fact what it really is. I just know that something goes on in those situations, whether it's communication or Andy getting tight. I can't really tell you which one it is.
Probably a bit of both. Aaron, yeah, all 4 were active as I am aware, and I did see a 3 tight end set a couple of times as well. William, thank you for the super chat. How much better can this defense be with everyone healthy? I thought Willie Gay could have made a difference in on some of the Chubb runs. Yes, and Willie takes on blocks of linemen better than any other linebacker they have. So it's not just those runs and his athleticism. He's stronger at the point of attack as well. And babies have to go to sleep when babies have to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So
you guys get a nice little Avery look here. She's got clothes on today, so that's a plus.
Hey, I like that. That's a plus. No getting us degraded here. You guys, we're going to wrap this up with the Chiefs Knicks fan. Glad we're not the team that drafted Daniel Jones. I can understand that. Good for them for scraping some performance together when you can. Go ahead.
So I will not take the Daniel Jones slander.
Oh.
Daniel Jones is a very talented quarterback, and his anchor is the offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett. He is a terrible offensive coordinator, and he is the reason that their terrible offense is terrible. Now,
I'm gonna end with the best question ever. I'm not gonna let Dan get spun up anymore about Daniel Jones. Daniil asked a great question. When will Patrick stop throwing to Marcus on crucial 3rd downs? Only somewhat rhetorical. I will tell you this. It will happen the day that they make the executive decision and remove DeMarcus Robinson from this offense. Until then, till he's off the roster, it's going to happen. So it is what it is. We're going to wrap there. Super Chatters, thank you for all of your support tonight. Everyone who's here. If you're not subbed, do that now because we'd like to have you back. Make sure you join the memberships if you're interested in the bonus content from Gooch, from me. Aaron's going to have some things for you. We have a couple of new things brewing. We didn't get the pregame video off the ground this week. We will get that figured out one way or the other. So I hope that you guys have a great week. Dan will be back with you tomorrow. I will see you Thursday night. You guys enjoy yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time.